When you love someone too much, are you losing yourself? Have you ever tried to love someone only to slowly disappear? Not because they forced you to change, but because deep down you believed, if I could just be softer, a little more understanding, love them just a little more, maybe they'll stay. And so you began to change, bit by bit. You spoke less. You tolerated more. You swallowed your discomfort, your disagreements, your truths, just to keep the bond from breaking. But here's the quiet truth. Many don't realize they're living to please someone else until they no longer recognize themselves. Until one day, you look in the mirror and the reflection feels like a stranger, not because you're not beautiful, but because it's been too long since you lived in truth. You still smile, but inside you feel empty. You still do everything right, but feel unseen. You're still there, but no longer feel like you belong. And the most painful moment is this, when you realize they didn't love you for who you truly are. They loved the version of you that was easier to accept. If that's ever happened to you, know this: you are not alone. Many have walked that silent terrain, the land of holding back, the land of, as long as they're happy, I'll be fine. But in that sacrifice, you lost your own voice. So today, the question waiting for you in stillness is, am I still myself if I keep changing just to be loved? No one should be loved at the cost of their soul, and neither should you. You deserve love without having to abandon your truth. I once believed that if I loved enough, they would stay. I once believed that if I loved deeply enough, sincerely enough, they would see it, they would understand, and then they would stay. I thought if I kept giving bit by bit with all the honesty my heart could hold, one day they would turn around and say thank you for not giving up. But they didn't. They didn't come back. Not because they were cruel, not even because they didn't care. They just chose not to stay. And that's when I learned something that changed me. Loving more doesn't guarantee they'll remain. Let me tell you a story, not of someone else, but of myself, a few years ago. I once loved someone deeply, a kind of love that, if written into letters, would fill more than a few journals. It wasn't blind, it wasn't reckless, it was love with awareness, with hope, with all the softness I still believed in. We weren't together for too long, but long enough for me to imagine a future, long enough for me to begin changing, just so they'd feel more comfortable beside me. I spoke less, because they once said, "You talk too much, it's tiring." I stopped mentioning the little things that made me sad, because every time I did, they'd say, "You're too sensitive, it's nothing." And so I began to fix myself, piece by piece, until one day I couldn't recognize myself anymore. I still remember one moment so vividly. They made a promise, but they didn't show up. I waited almost 3 hours in a small cafe on a rainy afternoon. I messaged, no reply. I called, no answer. I just sat there, still wanting to believe they're just busy. They'll come. They didn't. Not even a message. They simply forgot. I went home in silence. No anger, no tears, just emptiness. And even after that, I still didn't walk away. I told myself, they must be stressed. I just need to be more patient. I thought, everyone makes mistakes. I can't leave them now. I kept making excuses to stay, to hope, to hold on. But the truth, they didn't need someone who would love them to the point of self-erasure. They just needed freedom. And sometimes their freedom meant not having you in it. That was a painful lesson, one that cost me more tears than I can count. Love is not meant to be a sacrifice of self. It's not about breaking yourself just to prove you're enough. Have you ever been there? Trying harder than you should, just to keep something that was slowly slipping away. Smiling while your soul was drowning, saying, "It's fine," when every part of you was breaking. If so, then you already know. That whisper inside, if I can just hold on a little longer, until one day you finally see they were never planning to turn back. No one teaches us how to love without losing ourselves. We only learn it after we've shattered, after we've fallen, and thought we'd never rise again. But the miracle is, we do rise, not because someone saved us, but because a quiet voice within begins to whisper, "You are already enough. You don't have to hurt more to prove it." If you're in a relationship where you have to try every day just to be accepted, if you love someone who makes you hide parts of your true self, pause. Ask yourself, am I still loving, or am I just holding on to something that no longer belongs to me? I once believed if I loved enough, they would stay. But now I know, if someone truly wants to stay, they won't let your love cost you yourself. When you're not loved, you start to believe you're not worthy. Have you ever felt your heart break over a glance that didn't linger, over a greeting that lacked warmth? When love doesn't come in the way your soul longs for, the heart often whispers, "Maybe I'm not enough." It's not an irrational thought. It's a quiet reflex rooted deep within that says, if I'm not loved, I must be missing something. The wound begins in childhood. Psychology tells us that the first love we receive from our parents or caregivers shapes the way we believe in love for the rest of our lives. If you cried and were met with, "You're fine," but no presence to truly listen, if you asked why and only received cold, abrupt answers, those moments planted a quiet belief inside you, only when I'm good, quiet, easy to love, will I be worthy of love. As you grow, this belief evolves. It hides in thoughts like, if I'm not good enough, I won't be seen. If I'm too much, they'll leave. The defense, if I'm not worthy, I'll withdraw. Psychoanalysis calls this a defense mechanism. When you're not loved, your system interprets it as rejection. Then your mind translates that into, "I'm unworthy." To protect yourself, you pull away, you silence your emotions, you disappear before someone else gets the chance to walk away. Stoic perspective. Feelings are messages, not judgments. Stoic philosophy offers a different lens, that feeling "I'm not worthy" is not a sentence, it's a signal. Epictetus once said, "It's not what happens that harms you, it's how you choose to see it." Being left, being unloved, does not prove you lack value. It simply reveals a moment in the outer world. It is not your definition. Triggers. When the past echoes in the present. Maybe a cold glance during a breakup brings you back to the first time you were left behind. At age 5, waiting for someone who never came. That's a trigger. A memory reawakened, not just today's pain, but yesterday's wound resurfacing. 5. The three brains: instinct, emotion, reason. Neuroscience divides the brain into 3 layers. The reptilian brain, fight or flight. The limbic system, emotion and memory. The neocortex, logic and reflection. When you feel abandoned, your body shifts into survival mode. Your chest tightens. Your voice falters. Your thoughts rush to find an answer. What did I do wrong? And in that vulnerable state, it's easy to believe, maybe I was never enough to begin with. 6. Emotions are not enemies. You don't need to suppress the pain. Instead, Stoicism teaches, observe your feelings like you watch the clouds drift. Listen, breathe with them. Let them pass. No judgment, no exile. That's how you reclaim emotional sovereignty. 7. Your worth is not up for debate. Psychoanalysis reminds us of one final truth, one I return to often. You are not the colors others paint on you. Your worth is not defined by their vision. You are whole, regardless of who sees you. Even if someone never has the chance to understand you, even if they never loved you fully, you are still you, still worthy. When the pain hits the core of "I'm not enough," pause. Listen to your heartbeat. Let your tears flow beside your quiet smile and whisper, "I am still worthy." This heart still deserves love, even if someone failed to see it today. You are brave, not because someone loves you, but because you still believe in your own being, that you are worth living for. The truth is, you don't need someone's love to exist. There's a quiet belief many of us carry, that if we're good enough, they'll stay. That if we love deeply enough, wait long enough, give all we have, love will return to us. That if we never give up, one day they'll understand and love us the way we need. I used to believe that. Maybe you did too. But then comes the day. The person you tried to hold still walks away. The message you waited for never comes. Your gentleness is met with silence. And you start to ask yourself, what did I do wrong? Worse still, am I still worthy, still lovable? The truth is, love doesn't always stay just because you tried. Love isn't a transaction. It's not a formula. You can give 100% and still be left with nothing. You can be endlessly kind and still be walked away from. Because love at its core is freedom. No one owes anyone anything. You are not weak because you cried for someone to stay. You were simply honest with the pain of being rejected. Maybe you told yourself, if I were colder, harder, more indifferent, maybe this wouldn't hurt. But no, tears are not failure. They're release, your body's way of purging pain. You only become fragile when you stop letting yourself feel at all. Awakening begins when you face this truth. You don't need someone's love to prove your worth. Love is beautiful, but it's not the requirement for your existence. Some people come not to stay. Some love you, but not enough to grow with you. Some only walk beside you for a while, then turn away. Not because you're not enough, but because their path was never meant to carry you further. And that is not your fault. You can love fully and still be left behind. You can do everything right and still not be chosen. Because love isn't measured by effort. It lives only when two people choose each other mutually, daily, willingly. So please don't punish yourself. Don't believe that because someone didn't stay, you are less than. No one has the right to define your worth just because they couldn't see the depth within you. Here's what I need you to remember. You don't need someone to validate your worth. You don't need a relationship to feel whole. You're allowed to grieve. You're allowed to feel empty. But after all the aching, ask yourself gently, am I still staying with myself? There's a beautiful metaphor I once heard. Love is not air. You can breathe without it. Love is sunlight. It warms, it brightens. But you still survive even under gray skies. The one thing you cannot live without is your belief in yourself. If today you're standing in the aftermath of a goodbye, if you feel abandoned, empty, and anchorless, I just want you to pause. Take one slow breath and whisper, I am still here. I am still alive. I still have worth. And that is more than enough. You can learn to love yourself again, piece by piece. You can rediscover peace without needing anyone else to fill you. The truth may sting, but it is the beginning of freedom. When you stop living just to be loved, when you no longer wait for someone to rescue you from loneliness, when you realize, I can be alone and still not be lost, that is when true strength begins. Not because you closed your heart, but because you finally opened it to yourself. And you know what? When you truly stay with yourself, the most beautiful things will find you. Not because you begged, not because you proved anything. They come simply because you are you. And that has always been enough. Your worth doesn't come from who left, but from how you stay. There's a quiet truth many of us only realize after someone important walks away. When everything turns still, when you're left facing the silence, you begin to ask, was my worth ever tied to whether they stayed? So today I offer you a different view, gentle but powerful. Your worth doesn't come from who walked away, but from how you chose to stay with yourself. You're still here, and that, in itself, is a victory. Let this truth settle in you. You don't need to be understood, only not to abandon yourself. When you don't let go of your own hand, when you stand still in the ache, You've already proven more than any outside validation ever could. You've chosen to stay. With all your scars, your softness, your fire, and you're still here. That is courage. The river and the stone. Imagine yourself as a river. Everything, everyone flows through you. Some take sharp turns, some drift far away. But the riverbed remains. No matter how many currents pass, the foundation stays intact. Just like you, your worth isn't defined by the waters that leave. It is in the stillness of what remains. Staying is healing. To stay with yourself is more than endurance. It is daily healing. When you create space inside to say, if I'm sad today, I won't deny it. If I'm angry, I won't suppress it. If I feel empty, I'll stay with the silence. You're giving your soul a place to breathe. You're letting in small moments, a sliver of sunlight, a deep breath to soften the hardened earth within you. A quote to carry. Be the light for yourself before asking someone else to guide your way. I don't know who wrote this, but it cuts clean through the heart. You can be your own shelter. You don't need to be understood, only to not leave yourself. Imagine standing in a room full of people. You feel out of place, but you don't walk away. You stand whole. Even if no one gets you, even if they all turn their backs, you remain. You understand yourself. Have you ever written, I accept myself, even if no one else does? It may not be loud, it may not be pretty, but it is powerful enough to carve the boundary of your worth. In silence, you build strength. Silence is not absence, it is a mirror. And in that stillness you begin to see, you have the right to set boundaries. You can smile without a reason. You don't owe anyone an explanation. In that quiet rebuilding, you're becoming someone new, someone whole, not waiting for someone to stay. Just staying, and that alone is strength. Restore your worth, step by step. You don't need to rush through pain. You just need to rise slowly each day. Open your eyes, look in the mirror, whisper, I'm still here. You don't need armor, you only need gentleness. To love yourself and to know quietly, fully, my worth is not a reaction, it's the way I choose to remain. Closing, the quiet power you carry. You don't need to be understood, only not to abandon yourself. A person's value is not measured by who stays, but by how they hold on to their own integrity. To stay doesn't mean you close your heart. It means you love yourself deeply enough not to give up your soul for anyone. You don't exist because someone came to you. You live so you can know yourself. And when you are at peace with who you are, love will find you. But even if it doesn't, you will remain, and you will still be worthy. You are worthy because you chose to stay with yourself, and that will be the light that guides everything beautiful that's yet to come. You are still you. even if no one chooses to stay. You are still you, even if no one chooses to stay. This is not a philosophy, not a polite reassurance, but a deep truth, one you can lean on when you feel left behind, unchosen, unseen, unloved, because your presence is not diminished by someone else's absence. There are days when you feel like you've vanished from the world. No one calls, no one checks in. Those who once said, "I'll always be here," are gone, and it feels cold, thin, as if you're a shadow, and everyone walks right through you. But slow down for a moment. Place your hand on your chest. You're still breathing. You can still hear the quiet voice within. You are still here, whole, even if no one stayed. No need to fix it. Just stay. Your mind will rush in with urgency. Why did they leave? How do I stop hurting? What can I do to bring them back? But in trying to fix the pain, you risk losing something far more precious, the chance to stay with yourself unconditionally. So today, instead of finding answers, I invite you to do one thing. Just stay. Exercise. Write a letter to yourself. You don't have to be a writer. You don't need perfect words, only honesty. Take a sheet of paper, write today's date, and begin with the line, "To the one who stayed when no one else did." Then let it flow. How are you feeling, really? Is there something you've been holding back? A truth you haven't dared to speak aloud? A word you long to hear from yourself? You may be surprised that when you finally give yourself permission to write, what's been aching for years begins to pour out like a quiet stream. Don't write to solve, write to stay. Exercise 2. Sit for 5 minutes without judgment. Find a quiet corner, turn off your phone, silence the scroll in your mind, sit down. One hand on your chest, one on your belly. Close your eyes. Inhale slowly for 4. Exhale gently for 6. Repeat for 5 minutes. If emotions arise, anxiety, sadness, anger, emptiness, don't push them away. Just whisper, "This is how I feel, and I accept it." Then return to the breath. You don't need to calm down. You just need to stay, like a quiet friend sitting beside you in the storm. When no one chooses to stay, it's easy to believe you're not enough. But being alone doesn't mean you are empty. Your fullness doesn't depend on who's beside you. It comes from your ability to sit with your own feelings without fear. You are not the emptiness they left behind. You are the space you create, to live, to feel, to be heard. A sentence to carry with you. I am still me, not because of who stayed, nor because of who left. Maybe no message came today. No one asked, "How are you really?" No arms reached to hold you tight. But you can still ask yourself, and you can still hold yourself with presence. Exhaling, before you sleep, whisper softly, "No matter who leaves, I choose to stay with me." No need to make it sacred, just a simple sentence, like you're soothing the child within. Once a day, just once, to remind yourself, I am not invisible. I am not abandoned. I'm simply learning how to be with myself more deeply, more gently. You are still you, whole and worthy. You need no one's permission to believe that. Only your own quiet refusal to leave yourself behind. You are worthy, not because someone loves you, but because you stayed with yourself. You are worthy, not because someone chose to stay, not because you just did something right, not because you were praised, seen, or loved, but simply because you are still here, with yourself, still sitting with what's real, still listening even when you're tired, still breathing and choosing just one more time not to abandon yourself. And that is already a journey worth honoring. Maybe today, peace hasn't arrived yet. Maybe your heart still feels unsteady, still full of questions. But do you know this? You are being brave in a very quiet way, brave enough not to rush, brave enough not to fake it, brave enough to look inward without turning away. You don't need a perfect answer, just a simple vow: I will not turn my back on myself. If this video touched even a small part of you, then in the next piece we'll go deeper, into something deeply human, often misunderstood. Forgiveness isn't about who deserves it. It's about you deserving peace. No pressure, no forced forgetting. Just one more step back towards yourself. And if you'd like to carry something with you today, let it be this: I don't need to be loved to know I'm worthy. I am worthy even if only I know it. I'll see you again in the next reflection, when you're ready, or simply when you need a quiet place to be seen, to be understood, to be yourself.